Okay.
Okay.
Are we ready to start now or what?
Oh, I think you can.
Okay. I think the first recommendation is to take yourself out of the gallery view into the, we call it speaker view. That's up in the upper right-hand corner. Put on speaker view. Otherwise, all you see are little bitty windows. This way, at least you get to see the performers. Okay. Since we're launching into it right away, first up we have is the skit, Chinese Zodiac Calendar Virtues. And without further ado, I will turn the mic over to Marilyn, who will be our narrator. Take it, Marilyn.
Good morning. I'm interested in this Chinese zodiac calendar because I am a docent at a small local zoo. We have most of the animals, but are missing the dragon. I give short talks to zoo visitors and thought it would be fun to include some information about the zodiac animals, how they were chosen, and how they got their position on the calendar, and what virtues they had. I am so lucky. I didn't have to do any research. The church I belong to has a master skit writer named Pat Dare. He knows a lot about Chinese culture and was writing a skit for Spring Fling about the Chinese zodiac calendar. When I talked to him about the Chinese animals, he asked if I would like to have a part, and then my questions would be answered. So here's what I learned. The king of the heavens decided to create a Chinese zodiac calendar. He felt it would be easier for people to relate to it if he used an animal to represent each of the 12 lunar years in the zodiac cycle. So he sent out a notice to all the animals to have them gather and present their principal virtues so that he could select which animal should represent each of the years in the zodiac calendar. On the day of the meeting, all the animals began bickering as to who should appear first. But there were 13 animals present, and only 12 could be chosen. To resolve the dilemma, the king decided to hold a race, and the ordering of the calendar would be decided according to how each animal finished. Of course, the animal that finished last would not be on the calendar. But all the animals agreed to abide by the rules of the contest. On the day before the contest, Rat approached Cat with a plan to help their chances of winning the race.
Hi, Cat. I looked at the route for the race. It runs a long way around a narrow lake. Both you and I are among the smaller animals, and it would be hard for us to maintain a fast pace for that distance.
Yes, it would. We will need to try our best to avoid being excluded from the calendar.
Well, I have a plan to improve our chances, if I can get your help.
What do you have in mind?
Well, near the beginning of the race, there is a fork that leads down to the lake. If we swim across the lake, it will cut the distance to the finish line considerably.
Are you serious? We are not strong swimmers. That will take us longer to cross than to run around the entire lake.
Ah, yes, but your friend Ox is a strong swimmer, and he can give us a ride across at the same time. Do you think you could convince Ox to do it?
It's worth a try. I see Ox over there now. Let us go and have a talk with him.
So, Cat and Rat went over to try and recruit Ox to help with their plans for the race.
Hi, Ox. Are you getting ready for the big race tomorrow?
Hi, Cat. Hi, Rat. Yes, I took the day off from working the fields so I can give some energy for tomorrow.
Well, Rat and I have a plan to increase our chances for tomorrow's race, but we will need your help. Are you able to swim across the lake?
Well, I'm also known as a water buffalo. I will have no problem swimming across the lake, but I'm not a fast swimmer.
Ah, that is because you always swim with your head up to see where you are going. If you take Cat and I along for tomorrow's race, we can act as your eyes to guide you, and you can swim with your head down low to decrease the drag on the water.
That's a great idea. I did not know that swimming across for the race was allowed.
Only flying is not allowed for the race. Otherwise, no one would have a chance against Dragon.
Okay, I'll do it. I owe Cat a favor anyway. He is always chasing the birds away from eating my grains when I work in the field.
When the race started, the three animals ran down to the lake, while the rest of the animals took the course around the lake. After Ox entered the water, Rat climbed onto Ox and took a position on its neck. Cat climbed on and stayed by its flanks. When Ox lowered its head into the water, the swimming speed increased considerably. However, Ox could not see and was dependent on Rat to give audible commands for directions. Cat had the duty of checking where the other runners were in the competition and to indicate to Ox if it needed to increase the swimming pace. Well, the plan seemed to be working well, and the trio team was already halfway across the lake, while the other runners had not yet reached the bend at the end of the lake. With the gentle motion of Ox's steady stroke, Cat was lulled into a relaxing sleep. When Rat had realized that the swimming pace had slowed down to where they were about to lose their advantage, Rat was desperate to come up with a correction.
Hey, Cat, wake up and come look at all the nice fishes in the water.
Fishes? Where are they?
You need to come up here by the neck to look.
Okay, I'm here, but I still do not see any fishes.
Lean over more. I will point them out to you.
As Cat leaned over more to peer into the water, it felt a slight nudge and lost its balance. As Cat fell into the water, Ox sensed a signal to quicken the swimming pace. With a lightened load, Ox and Rat pulled away from Cat as it tried to climb back on.
Stop! I fell off. Come back for me.
Sorry, Cat. We need to keep going. You'll have to come in on your own.
Besides giving directions, Rat told Ox to continue with a faster pace to regain some advantage with their shortcut. When they got to the banks of the lake, Ox felt exhausted as it struggled to climb ashore.
I am bushed. I have never crossed the lake that fast before. Where's Cat?
Cat was sleeping and fell overboard. I did not want to tell you then because the others were catching up with us. We still need to hurry to get to the finish. Cat will be okay.
Are we in the lead? Where's the finish line?
Will you mind if I stay on top of your head to help find the path to the main road?
Of course not. We worked well as a team to get across the lake. Might as well continue that way to the finish line.
Rat and Ox found that they were still in the lead when they had reached the main road. However, Ox had expended so much energy swimming across the lake that it could only amble on to the finish line while the other animals were furiously approaching. Just as Ox was about to cross the finish line, Rat ran down Ox's head and jumped off the nose to finish first. And that was how Rat became the first animal on the Chinese zodiac calendar. In the ensuing calendar award ceremony for placing the animals on the zodiac cycle, each animal made a statement of its principal virtues. Witty Rat won the race and spoke first.
I am first on the calendar because I used my wit to compensate for what I lack in stature. My virtues are being quick-witted, clever, and charming. Therefore, anyone born on the year of the rat should have an easy life.
Then Honorable Ox spoke, the second to finish.
I do not run fast. By working hard in teaming with Rat, I am happy to have come in second. My virtues are being strong and steadfast. The lunar year had just changed, so it is now my year. People born in the year of the ox should be hard workers and dependable.
Tiger leapt across the finish line in third place.
I thought I was going to be first. That was until I saw Ox and Rat come in and cut in front of me after crossing the lake. But that's okay. I ran a good race. I'm happy to be third. My virtues are being courageous, warm-hearted, and loyal. People born in the year of the tiger are usually competitive and good providers.
Rabbit Hare scampered in fourth.
I prefer to be chasing a tiger than being chased by one. So I am happy to be fourth. My virtues are being compassionate and sincere. Plus, I am blessed with many children. People born on that year of the rabbit should have a happy home and a fruitful life.
Dynamic Dragon came in fifth.
When you have wings, you do not need to run long distances. Since flying was not allowed, I'm glad to come in fifth after having to run the entire distance. I also prefer to be out at night rather than during the day. My virtues are being energetic, charismatic, and commanding respect. People born on the year of the dragon tend to be good at giving orders and doing whatever is necessary to remain on top.
Snake Serpent slithered in sixth.
Since I have no feet, I need to slither just to go forward. With all the extra ground I need to cover, I'm glad to have come in sixth. My virtues are veracity, tenacity, and agility. People born in the year of the snake should be capable of sound judgment and have the drive to carry projects through to completion.
Horse galloped in 7th place.
Unless I'm guided, I like to roam free. Even after wandering off course during the race, I still came in 7th. My virtues are being energetic and having a free spirit. People born on the year of the horse should be self-reliant, money-wise, and enjoy traveling.
Ram, sheet, goat ambled across the finish line in 8th place.
Well, I enjoy wandering around. When horse wandered off, I got distracted and I followed behind him. So I came in 8th. My virtues are being nimble and fleet-footed. I like to climb on steep mountainsides where I'm often alone and lost in my thoughts. People born in the year of the ram are usually free thinkers and creative as they wander around alone. And well, sometimes this can make them unorganized or high-strung.
Monkey swung into view in 9th place.
If there were more trees lining the lake, I could have moved faster by swinging through the limbs. But 9th on the calendar is okay. My virtues are being active in having fun and love of community. People born on the year of the monkey are usually energetic, upbeat, and good listeners. Since they thrive on having fun, they could lack self-control.
Rooster sprinted across the line in 10th place.
I can only run fast in sports, so I pace myself and stay ahead of the dog. I managed to come at number 10. And I realized my virtues are strong, practical, and resourceful and observant. People born on the year of the rooster will attend to be analytical, strongful, trusted, honest, perfectionist, neat, and conservative.
Dog trotted in as the 11th finisher.
I had not realized that Rooster could run that fast. Every time I caught up to him, Rooster spurted ahead like I was doing a relay race. At least I came in 11th. My virtues are being loyal, faithful, and honest. People born in the year of the dog tend to be persistent and quick learners. However, they can sometimes be temperamental and dogmatic.
Pig Boar strolled in last.
I do not like running, but I tried my best and I surprised myself by coming in 12th. And I have a place on the calendar. My virtues are being intelligent, knowing how to appreciate the finer things in life, and getting along with others. People born on the year of a pig tend to be intelligent, good-mannered, and tasteful.
But what about cat? All 12 years on the zodiac calendar were filled by the time Cat had made it to the shore. It was tired and wet from swimming, and it certainly did not want to attend the calendar awards ceremony. However, Cat had this to say when it was found afterwards.
I know exactly what happened. Rat was so intent on winning the race that it was willing to sacrifice a teammate just to increase its odds. Rat is no longer my friend, and I am going to tell all my relatives to chase that rat down and see from now on, all rats will be chased down.
And that is the end of our story about the Chinese zodiac calendar and why cat was not included in the cycle.
Thank you. Thank you all for performing. There are many stories about how the zodiac calendar was formed. This was one of my favorites. But in order to dramatize it, I decided to do a skit. So I hope you like it.
Well, we did.
Okay, the next coming up, we have Arike. She's going to tell us a little bit about Lenten practices. So we do get to learn more about Lent from our review. Take it, Leah.
Hello, my name is Arika. I am new to the church if you haven't seen me yet, or not often. My pronouns are they, them. And I'm from Holland, where I did a decade of children's and outreach ministry, and Lent was sort of central to how we did not just get our church to survive, but thrive in a post-Christian era. So I figured I'd share that. You'll have to excuse me if I ramble a bit. This is the first time I am not telling this story, heavily censored for a very conservative audience, because I was active in missions ministry while I was here the first few years. So my religious history teacher once said that if she told the story of American Christianity, it would be the story of the 7 revivals. It reinvented itself basically every generation, but those revivals sort of crashed upon the shore of Holland and never really blew over. So Holland had sort of a continuous history and was sort of, since the 80s, slowly dying down and well into the post-Christian era by the early aughts. And as you can imagine, when, you know, the number of Christians in your country diminishes, when a church seems to close every week, and that is a very melancholy atmosphere to be a Christian in. And some meetings, there was a big question of how are we active Christians in this era? How can we be a community when nobody seems to want to join our religion anymore, and people leave and people don't know what it means anymore? What do we do? There was one advantage to this for somebody like me, 18 years old and just entering ministry, because every pair of hands was appreciated. So I walked into children's ministry and I was treated as an equal, and no questions were asked and no obstacles were set in my place. They were just happy that I wanted to do something and that there was a young one there. So that for me was a good experience. So one of my first Lents I faced as a fresh-faced volunteer, and tradition rang hollow. We heard from the national meeting what project we were going to do, what devotional we would get, what charity we would gather money for. And as a children's ministry volunteer, we would go to a workshop and there be handed a book with our special texts and our special craft projects for our kids. And as a 20-year-old, I read them and I thought to myself, and did not yet say out loud, because I wasn't confident yet, this is boring and incomprehensible. How am I going to tell this to 7-year-olds? And one advantage we did have was that we at least celebrated Holy Week. This was part of the character of our church. And I knew this was very unique because, or somewhat unique because my grandmother loved to tell how she had campaigned with the church council to have a proper Holy Week with all the services for about 20 years before she got it done. She's like, this was important to me and I got it in there, and with some support. So if you're like, gosh, it takes long to do things in church, know that sometimes it can take decades. So that was one of my first experiences with Lent, was just as an empty container. And, you know, I knew what faith meant because I was starting to learn about it and starting to explore it. My parents had just moved to America, where they joined a very conservative church, so I needed to sort of define my own faith. So that helped me make sense of it. But some people attending church regularly could not tell you what the role of Jesus was in the whole, you know, being a Christian thing. So that was a bit of a problem. And in practice too, we had no youth ministry, and every time we tried to revive it, somebody tried to do it on their own as a hero and burned out. So one of my first lessons in the church was, do not do things alone. Do them with a team and pray and take care of yourself. And after about 5 years, I had sort of a loose collection of fellow volunteers that I hung out with regularly. And we had a 30-year-old woman who was like, can't we do things ourselves? Because this Lent is so boring. Let's do something ourselves. We're supposed to fast, right? So let's do something like that, and let's make it modern. Let's make it about, you know, eating well. Let's make this positive and not like a shameful thing, or like with the whole Catholic guilt. As Protestants, we were very skeptical of Catholic guilt. So we invited a dietitian to come speak at the start of Lent. We made a whole booklet that we handed out in little, how do you call them in English? Folders. We chose our own charity because by this point we knew that a lot of people who had been in the church for a long time, on the quiet, without ever saying anything or looking for praise, you know, had been volunteers for charities for decades. So we're like, let's spotlight at least one of those. Let's invite them to bring their charities to the church council and, you know, pay attention to the hard work everybody is doing in practicing their faith that we don't even know about. So that brought to light that we were a church that were quite active, actually, if you counted everything everybody was doing, you know, when from the basis of like, we need to do good because we need to love humanity, and this is how we do faith. And we wrote some texts, and we engaged kids. We made up our own kids crafts to fit you know, the sobriety, and we made little pots to give them home, so that the money people saved on groceries by eating healthy could go directly to the charity by actually putting money in there. So for the kids, for some of them, this was the first time raising money with their family, and it was a lot of fun. Everybody was very into it. So we learned very much that getting people into it and making sure that you apply what's locally there and what people are passionate about really helped in getting engagement up. And the culture in the church was starting to turn. We were like, we want to be involved in the local community. And, you know, we can keep talking about all this hopelessness and churches closing, but hey, we are here, we are a community. What sort of community are we? And this was not an easy journey because some of the things we had to face in the years following that were, for example, taking the moratorium off of gay marriage and talking as a congregation about whether we were going to do that. So that was a year's worth of Bible study and church-wide meetings where people spoke their questions and their prejudices and everything for the very first time. But we got through it. And we wanted to do that before we got a new pastor in. We actually did it while we were between pastors. And we decided that since we had discovered we were a missional church where people were very active, part of being missional was being inclusive. We wanted to be welcome and open to everybody. So we voted yes, that everybody could get married in the church because we were not to judge, God was to judge. And I was very invested in this. By this point, I did not know yet why. Yeah. And so one of the last Lents was very special. By this point, our church was thriving. You have to understand, our church attendance had doubled. The people who attended had gone from 70% gray to 30% gray. Our children's ministry had tripled. And our little church community band that wanted to bring modern music in and had started to campaign with the church council for this in 1976, got the go-ahead at the end of the aughts to come actually perform in services and not just in activities around that. So if you think that church goes slow, remember, sometimes it takes decades to go for change. And they had the idea on Palm Sunday to give a whole concert because this cool church, this cool Dutch band had made their music part of the had basically made their music sort of given a Creative Commons license for ministries that was about the whole passion story. So they're like, we want to do this music and storytelling and want to make it a concert. They did. It was very popular. People from all over the city came to it. And our king had been freshly coronated. So we're like, let's do something with that. So we had a big creative contest and people did all sorts of interpretations, and our sort of prompt was the kingdom of heaven. So we had a whole gallery round about this time about what does it mean to be in the kingdom of heaven, what does it mean to be a Christian, and people had all sorts of ideas that they talked about and expressed in painting and in writing and in knitting projects and in quilts, and just wow. And by this point, we had not just gone for fasting from food, but people were like, let's fast in a way that honors God. So some people, one couple I knew, were like, we're going to turn off the television during dinner and talk for all of Lent. And they loved this so much, they just continued it after. Several people I knew were like, we're addicted to Facebook. We're going to shut off Facebook for Lent. They did. And they saved about an hour a day of time that they were like, oh gosh, this is very relaxed. And we encouraged each other in this because by this point we were sort of used to this. And last of all, we were like, let's be a community for Easter as well. And so the idea came to organize a big Easter breakfast. And so on Easter morning, we started at 8 with about 100 people coming in with all sorts of food to sit down together to have Easter breakfast as a church, going into a massive celebratory service afterwards, and then just hanging out for coffee. So it was a whole Easter morning. And so that, at that point, our church was thriving. And we had very sneakily used, and without us realizing, used tradition as a way to sort of, as a guidance of like, to make sense of our faith again and to go on a way to revival. So liturgy provided sort of a lens to sort of rediscover our faith. So I wanted to share that story with you, and I hope you enjoyed it and that it gives you some pointers for how that can happen. And when I moved to America, I left a thriving, busy, involved, filled to the gills church that I am happily is still that today. So yeah, it was very special for me to see my church sort of come alive over the course of a decade. Thank you. That was me.
Thank you, Ricky. Thank you for a very lovely, enlightening revival story. So next we have is Jamie Han. I want to apologize to Jamie because I mistyped her name. It's not Janie, it's Jamie. And she is with a group called the Lovebirds, and they're going to sing for us a song called Grow Old With You. So, Jamie, would you kind of give us a little intro before we share the your song?
Sure. So this is the same group that I sang with over the holidays. It's part of my barbershop chorus, part of Sweet Adelines. I've actually, several of you have reached out to me. You've heard of Sweet Adelines. It's an international organization of people singing barbershop, women identified people. And yeah, this is one of the songs that was offered to us as like, here, you can do this for Valentine's Day, and then share this with people to make them happy for Valentine's Day. So this is like a singing Valentine.
Okay.
I wanna make you smile whenever you're sad. Carry you around when your arthritis is bad. All I wanna do is grow old with you. Old with you, I'll get your medicine when your tummy aches. Build you a fire if the furnace breaks. Darling, it's so nice growing old with you. Grow with you, I'll miss you, kiss you, give you my coat when you are cold, need you, squeeze you, even let you hold my remote control. So let me do the dishes in our kitchen sink. Put you to bed when you're too tired to think. I love being the one who grows old with you. One more time. In other words, here's the message, darling. So glad you're mine. Mine. Oh, mine.
Oh, it's so wonderful.
Woot, woot.
Whoop. That's lovely.
There's actually some outtakes in the video if you want to watch it, but otherwise it's fine.
Oh, then I'll take you. Let me see.
This one.
Oh. Oh. Oh.
These those
Yeah.
people.
Baritone, the bass is Joe Reverend. Oh. That's so good. Really enjoyed it.
Thank you, Jamie. First time I looked at it, I said, you are carrying Wesley. Wow.
That was the most fun part.
you didn't strain your back, did you? Anyway, coming up next, we have a poem by Fran Hostetler. I'll share with you how we started. I found a poem in the San Francisco Chronicle, and I asked Fran if she would like to adapt it for our review. She looked at it and she said, this is a free verse. I don't like free verses. I said, well, you do whatever you want. So somehow I motivated her to come up with her own poem, a brand new one made by Fran, and read by Fran. So take it, Fran. Yeah, it's called Then and Now.
Right.
Okay.
Then and now. Back then, that old year snuck away ashamed. It was filled with grief aplenty. We weathered illness, fires, and pain, but we got through 2020. We first felt afraid and quite lonely, alone in an empty room, but technology came to our rescue. We found company then over Zoom. Worship, prayer, music, and outreach. Online, we found we could share. Welcoming, comforting, listening, our community was still there. And we found joy in smaller things, like a wave and a friendly smile, or neighbors helping neighbors, or a dog, or a song, or a child. And now, it's 2021, my friends. The new year's just got started, and we have hope and prayers and dreams to help heal the brokenhearted. We'll try to stay strong together. We'll work to be safe and well. Learn from the positive, resist the negative, to find where peace and love dwell. We all look forward to the time when the doors of the church open wide and we join in grand communion, maybe masked, but side by side. Bless you all. Thanks for all who helped move us forward.
Thank you, Fran. Thank you very much. Okay, next up we have Judith Ain. She's going to be singing After the Fall.
Yes, after the fall, right?
After the Fall.
You think you had ball here.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's a parody of After the Ball.
Yeah.
After the fall was over, Adam and Eve took fig leaves, covered their private places, and hid among the trees. Now that they knew they were naked, they were ashamed when God called. They didn't want God to see them after the fall. After the fall was over, God knew they ate from that tree, thought that they knew good from evil, as if like God they could see. God knew that this was a crisis and made a judgment call. They couldn't stay in the garden after the fall. After the fall was over, then there was no more free lunch. They had to sweat and toil to get something to munch. Then there was pain having babies. The snake on its belly must crawl. Life got lots more complicated after the fall. Thank you.
Thank you, Judith. That was wonderful. We have another song coming up, and will be by Robert Minton. It's called the Digger Song. I'll let Robert tell you more about it.
Hi, thank you, Pat. So the Diggers were a group, one of the radical Protestant groups that arose in the middle of the 17th century in England. That was a very interesting time in English history. The Civil War had just finished. The king had been executed. There was a protectorate announced. And the Diggers were one of the groups who sprung up at the time from reading the Bible and finding it said some interesting things that people hadn't said it was saying. Like what they were after was making the entire world what they referred to as a common treasury for all. That people there shouldn't be divisions in society between different ranks, everyone should be leveled. Their other name was the true levelers. And another interesting aspect of them was that they wanted to do all this non-violently through non-violent protest, non-violent actions. And they actually succeeded in that, in not getting into fights and avoiding them, but they didn't end up getting that or what they were after, obviously. And so this is a song telling their story by Leon Rosselson, which I'm going to sing now for you. In 1649, St. George's Hill, a ragged band they called the Diggers came to show the people's will. They defied the landlords, they defied the laws. They were the dispossessed, reclaiming of what was theirs. We come in peace, they said, to dig and sow. We come to work the land in common and to make the wasteland grow. This earth divided we will make whole. So it will be a common treasury for all. The sin of property we do disdain. No one has any right to buy and sell the earth for private gain. By theft and murder they took the land. Now everywhere the walls rise up at their command. They make the laws to chain us well. The clergy dazzle us with heaven, or they damn us into hell. We will not worship the God they serve, the God of greed who feeds the rich while poor folk starve. We work, we eat together, we need no swords. We will not bow to the masters nor pay rent to the Lord. Still we are free, though we are poor. You diggers all stand up for glory, stand up now. From the men of property the orders came. They sent the hired men and troopers to wipe out the diggers' claim, tear down their cottages, destroy their corn. They were dispersed, but still the vision lingers on. You poor take courage, you rich take care. This earth was made a common treasury for everyone to share, all things in common, all peoples one. We come in peace, the orders came to cut them down.
Thank you, Robert. Thank you very much. Now, next up, we're going to have a song with the poems called When. I'll give you a little highlight of how it came about. Last year around May, the San Francisco Chronicle had a poem called When. I looked at it and I said, oh, these lines are good. It tells us how to prepare for changes and to accept them as we get them to come out of the pandemic. And so I showed it to John Buck. And somehow John Buck, look, I said, hey, we could sing Ode to Joy with this. So I said, hey, that's a great idea. And so for this review, I worked with Patricia, and we took the poem and divided into 4 verses. We have 4 different soloists singing a verse. But at the end of the verse, since it's the finale, we're going to ask everybody to come in and join in for the final 4 lines, which is our ad lib. But we're going to do it differently. We're going to wait for Patricia to give us the cue. So we try to do it together if we can on Zoom. But then on the very last line, there was a deliberate slowing and a crescendo. We'll see what we get. So from now, I'll let Patricia take it away.
When will things get back to normal? When will all the troubles end? When will someone make it better? There's no when. I'm sorry, friend. We can't go back to fantasies. There'll be no turning back the clock, but we'll build a brand new place, conjured from the fear and shock.
Born of struggle, stretching, learning, seeing as we want to see. We could rise and be the race of humans that we want to be. Joyful, conscious, full of kindness, ready to turn back on the lights and trust the earth as we'd be treated, faithful to our common rights.
Do not wish for yesterday when we were walking in our sleep. We are here to be creators, reaching down into the deep, where high we sit, quiet, waiting to be found, embraced, enjoyed, put to work in new fashion, learn from, understood, employed.
You decide where we are headed. You decide where we should go. Help us understand the lessons. Show us what we need to know. Stop the wishing and the waiting, yearning for a day gone by. A better world is out there calling. Look up now, it's time to fly.
Let's stop with wishing and the waiting, yearning for a day gone by. A better world is out there calling. Look up now, it's time to fly.
Oh boy.
Yeah, baby.
Make
I
a
can't believe we're
joyful
together, but
joy.
it was fun.
Whoa.
So now we're at the end of our formal program. Now we have our spontaneous program for anyone who is so motivated to want to join and share something. I think there was a request for Clarabelle at some time or another, but we'll let someone jump in first.
Maybe Clarabelle can play for us on the harmonica. Ode to Joy.
I'll play something, and I've been practicing this, and Trisha can sing along if she wants. See if you know what it is. Since we didn't do anything for Valentine's, so I'm going to play this Valentine song. Let me get the right note for it. Wait, let me start again. I can't do it. I have to wipe the lipstick off, I think. Something. I love Frank Sinatra, and he sang this song to Kim Novak in the movie, It's My Funny Valentine. It's my first try in doing a song that is not like do, re, mi, you know, like the song that you sing with the harmonica. So that's my contribution. Happy Valentine's Day.
Okay, anyone else? I think Cal was, were you going to do something?
Oh.
Cal?
Well, we could also just give comments on what you thought of the program and what you like and so forth. And that will kind of set the mood for what we could do next time when we have a review.
Maybe we can at least see who's in the year of the ox this year.
Oh, yeah.
Who's in the year of the ox? Maybe you can raise your hand. How many oxes do we have this year? Okay, Marilyn's an ox.
I know Joe's an ox.
Oh, Joe's an ox.
Yeah.
My brother's an ox and Claravel's sister's an ox.
Wow, there are very few oxes.
1913, 1925, 37, 49, 61, 73, 85, 97, and it was 2009, so every 12 years. My brother.
And I think Enrique church revival program started on the year of the ox. Isn't that right, Enrique?
So that was more or less 2005 to 2015.
Mm-hmm.
I was just
yeah.
Go for it, Xander.
No, I was just to say to Erika, that was just totally fascinating because I've been reading about the evangelicals and where they have ended up today. And in recounting it, they've talked about the past and how they did all the revivals that happened in America. And so it was fascinating to hear Erika talk about the fact that they had these various revivals in America. The books I'm reading talk about the fact that others, the evangelicals had the revivals, but then there were other churches that were doing other things. And particularly what was not done was talked about theology or the higher academics. They didn't cover that. So I think it's fascinating for me because I think that the intersection between a lively church and a thoughtful church is one I hope we can pursue. And then I just want to say, everybody was so creative, just wonderful. All this creating of the poems and creating of the skits, and the novel way of presenting Jamie's little group with the pictures and the thing were wonderful, just wonderful.
Thank you.
Very talented.
I think Fran's poem needs to be published.
Yes.
You should put that in the next
Newsletter.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That poem actually makes a good prayer, and everything was just so good. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Fran, would you be willing to have your poem showcased on the church's social media?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Thank you.
I didn't write it to be a secret. Anybody's welcome to look at it and take from it what they can get. Thank you for enjoying it.
It was outstanding.
Yes.
It was excellent.
That's what we thought about.
I'd like to make one comment that came to mind. The Episcopal Church, from the time I was a child, was considered so formal. We were not formal at all. This is so much fun to do things like that. I became Episcopalian mainly because Dave was Episcopalian. And I had to put a hat on to go over to church and all that stuff.
Right.
But I really thought this was terrific. And I'm so glad we had this happen. And it also puts kind of a nice pat on the back for, this wide variety we have. So I think you all have done so well, and I'm happy to be part of the audience at least.
I think that John Buck wants to say something.
Figure I'd take advantage of having a camera here. Yeah, that asked what we thought about the event today. And I said, whenever I'm in an event